Hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the basketball edition. Listen, we're going from lighthearted and funny to more serious. I just released a video in which I awarded the most melodramatic moment of the WNBA 2024 season and the funniest moment of the 2024 season. If you haven't checked that out, you need to. It is another ceremonial night of the Adrienne Ross Show 2024 WNBA Unconventional Awards. So I think you'll enjoy that. But now, right now, we're transitioning to something a little bit more serious, and that is a Q&A. Now, there are 4 memberships for my channel: Rookie, MVP, Legend, and GOAT. And one of the perks for Legend and GOAT is the participation in a Q&A. So they get to ask questions and I answer them. I believe this will be the 3rd month of me taking questions. I didn't get that many questions this time. I only have 2. So I'm going to address those questions now. And they can ask about anything. It can be personal, it can be basketball, it could be anything. And last month, there were quite a few basketball questions. And the 2 questions I have for now are personal questions, sort of. And when I say personal, I mean they're, well, I don't know, personal. The first one is a personal question. The second one is, it's not basketball related, so I call it personal, but it's more or less my idea about a particular topic. So you'll see what it is in a moment. You can label it whatever you want. But for those of you who are saying, how do I become a member? Because I have had people put those in the comments, and there's a join button. A join button next to, you'll see on the Adrienne Ross Show, the homepage, if you will, you will see subscribe, and the join button should be next to that. And I think there's a join button also next to 8 profile pictures. They're in circles. Those are members of the channel. YouTube rotates them 8 at a time, 8 at a time. So you can hit the join button. Now, I've had people say, I don't see a join button. If the join button is not there for some reason, no problem. For every video I put out, when I put in the show description, the video description, I always put the link to be able to find out about those memberships. So just plug that link in, go to that page. It'll tell you about them. You can decide which membership you want. I would appreciate it. Your support is not taken lightly. It's definitely not taken for granted. So thank you. Oh, guys, make sure if you have not hit the subscribe button that you do that also. Okay, so now let's get into the questions. The first question is from King's Kid Girl 2. King's Kid Girl 2. And she asked me a question, a personal question. She wrote this. I'm going to read everything she wrote. She said, sometime, Adrienne, I would love to hear your faith story. How did you come to know the Lord? Maybe it's an answer for a different video. I don't know. Whatever you're comfortable with answering. I'm always interested to know how people came to faith. And I will say, this is the perfect video for it. I'm comfortable answering it. It's a wonderful question. And so here we go. How did I come to faith? Well, I was raised to go to church. So as a kid, I was in the choir, I was on the usher board, I was in Sunday school, I did the plays for various things. So I was very involved in the church because I was raised that way. Well, when I was about 17 years old, I made a decision to go deeper. I had a friend in high school. We played volleyball together. That's where I met her. And then I ended up playing basketball with her sister and softball with her sister. But they had a really big family, and their grandfather was the pastor of a church in Queens, New York. I had been going to church in Long Island, New York. And so it was something about her. Her name was Jewel, and she clearly had a relationship with God. She'd given her life to God. and she lived it. She just exuded the presence of God. And though I had something with God, I just knew that there was something more. And I just felt God tugging on my heart. And I remember it was Easter night. I went to church with her. They had night service as well as daytime service. And I had gone to my church in the morning, to her church that evening on Easter. It was amazing. I mean, the way they worshiped, the way they sang, the way the presence of God was just amazing. And I just, it's not like I never experienced the presence of God, but I was just so blown away, especially because there were so many young people who were worshiping God. And I'm like, this is really amazing. Now, I didn't just start going to their church. I didn't, but she and I were just really good friends, and we would talk, and I eventually ended up, I had been baptized. I understood baptism, but I made a deeper commitment to the Lord shortly after that time. I was rebaptized, filled with the Spirit, and was set on a journey. You know, I went away to college shortly after that, and I just continued my walk with the Lord, and it's been a it's just been a journey. It's just been a journey. So I never looked back at that time. So I was about 17 years old, but like I said, raised to go to church, but at some point I had to make a decision that this is going to be all in. I'm going to be all in. And I learned, continuing to learn about the Lord and walk with the Lord. And there's nothing like that. So wonderful question. I hope I answered it well. There's so many stories we could tell, right? Because it's never ending with the walk with Jesus. But that's the short version. Thank you again for that question. Okay, that was King's Kid Girl 2. So my next question is from Foxter55, obviously another member of the channel, and she submitted this question. Such a good question too. What are 3 traits of a good leader and why? And I love this question because I love leadership. I've talked before about John Maxwell, who is considered the #1 leadership expert in the world. And I am certified as a leadership trainer, teacher, coach, as well as communications. And I've been mentored by some of the top people on John Maxwell's team, if you will. And so I really value leadership. And I shared this before when Caitlin Clark was recently asked, what is leadership? And I did a video about this. And I quoted John Maxwell, and I'm going to quote him again. John Maxwell says this: leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I tied that before to what Caitlin Clark commented about leadership, because she said leadership is about relationships with people and dealing with people. When I say dealing with sounds like a hard thing, like a not so pleasant thing, but I don't mean it that way. I mean relating to people the way they need to be related to. And one of the things that we talk about in the John Maxwell team is that we all know the golden rule. The golden rule meaning do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Well, one of the things that John Maxwell says is that we want to abide by the platinum rule. And of course, there's the golden rule. Nothing supersedes that. But the platinum rule is just this: treat other people the way they want to be treated, right? So you take the golden rule, which is treat people the way you want to be treated. And then the platinum rule says treat other people the way they want to be treated. And you cannot do that as a leader or as an individual if you don't build relationships with other people. And so that's very, very important. Now to the three traits of a good leader, or 3. There are so many, but I'll go ahead and start with that. #1 is integrity. These are in no certain order, although I would put integrity at the top of any list. But integrity is one of the traits. So you can be a leader and not have integrity, because there are always people who will follow people into doing horrible things. But the kind of leader you want to be, the kind of leader I want to be, the kind of leader people value is one who has integrity. So we should desire to be people of good character. It's extremely dangerous when people are leading other people and their character is horrible. It's dangerous, it's unhealthy. So when we are looking for people to follow, we need to have people who have integrity, who have good character. So that's important. Number two, something I value is being an example. And what I mean by that is, for example, I prefer not to ask others to do what I'm not willing to do. So whenever I've done coaching of people, I'm not talking about basketball coaching, I'm talking about coaching in leadership, communications, etc. If I'm saying, hey, this is the task that I want you to do this week, I like to do the same thing. It's not always without fail, because I'm busy and I have things to do. But I very often, very often, if I'm assigning you to do something, I want to do it myself. Same thing as an English teacher. Very often, if my students were writing in class, writing an essay on a topic, writing a story, you would often find me doing the same thing. If they had an assignment, a writing assignment, and again, not always, because I got papers to grade and things like that at home. But very often I would engage in what they were doing to show them that we're not above putting ourselves to work. And if I'm asking you to do it, I can do it also. And it also enables me to be a model of it. When my students shared their writing, a lot of times I would share my writing because I wanted them to see what it looks like, right? What a good example of it would be. And I wanted them to see me going through the same struggles, trying to find the right word, trying to, okay, where do I switch paragraphs? And so leading by example, I think, is important because people can see you living it and not just hear you talking about it. So leading by example is important. And another one, a third one, is knowledge. I think we have to be honest and say that if you're going to lead, you got to know what you're talking about. If I came and I just started talking about, so-called talking about basketball, but I couldn't even tell you what a layup was, you wouldn't want to hear me. There's something about knowing what you're talking about. Character's great. Like I said, integrity is important. Being an example is important, but you've got to have knowledge in what it is you're doing. You don't have to know everything, right? Let my English students see me. Can you hand me that dictionary? Because I don't know what this word means. Like, they got to see you be real, and they got to see that. But I got to know something. Okay, too many people don't know what they're talking about, but they're talking. And so we want to be careful of that, definitely. That's three, and there are so many. I'll give you one more as a bonus. Okay, Foxter 55, one more as a bonus, and it is not at the bottom of the list. I rate this really high, and that is passion. I like to believe everything I do, I want to do it with passion. There's some things I'm just not passionate about. And I don't really like to do things I'm not passionate about, to be honest with you. And we all have to do things in life that we're not passionate about, right? But there's something about leadership when you're passionate about something, a topic, a craft, a profession, a ministry. It is contagious. And that's something that it's like when I first started coaching, for example, my first year coaching, had a really tough group, my first year coaching. And it was like, guys, show some passion out there. And I would say, I don't expect everybody to be as passionate as I am about basketball. So I was really passionate. I don't expect everybody, but I don't expect to be able to tell that you're not. I was sort of like, I want to see you kind of like pretend, even if you're not. I want you to play like you're passionate. But there's nothing like when it's real, when you're truly passionate. It can be felt. So that's something that you want to have for your own sake, but also for others, because people feed off of that. So passion is so very, very important. So just as a run back, integrity, being an example, having knowledge, and the bonus of passion. And there are so many other qualities of leadership. So for those of you who are listening, let's take both these questions. If you have come to know the Lord, how did you come to know the Lord? Put that in the comments. And if you have an idea of what it takes to be a leader or 3 traits of leadership, put those in the comments also, because we need good leaders. So do you agree with what I said? And what else would you add? What would you not have added? So just 2 questions this time, but very good questions. Thank you so much to Foxter55 and also King's Kid Girl 2. And I will catch you guys next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.